Hello everyone and welcome back to Very Cold Lasagna, your filthy casual place for all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I'm DylanLasagna and welcome back to another weekly recap of my San Francisco 49ers who finished their Week 12 matchup against the New Orleans Saints pitching a shutout. Yeah, at home, but can we really call it a very good shutout? I don't think so, but I mean, for some people a win is a win, but for others, they'll look at this win as, a win that could have gone better for them. But in any case, the Niners went on to beat the New Orleans Saints, pitching a shutout 13-0 at home to kick off their 3-game homestand. And as you can tell, I actually went to this game live in person, and I honestly didn't expect to go to this game, but I gotta give a shout out to my brother. And even though we don't see eye to eye most of the time, there's one thing we do see eye to eye on, and that is, of course, 49ers football. The good kind, of course, and sports. So he took me, my dad, as our Christmas gift, and one of our friends. So I really appreciate that very much, and I thank him for that. And I got to experience my second ever Niners game, of course. The first one was a couple months ago against the Seahawks. Now we got to see the one against the Saints. If you ask me which one I liked better, I'd say the first one against the Seahawks. Because this game against the Saints was, not exactly particularly great at all. I mean, not say it was terrible, but it was just, it was kind of slugging along a lot for much of this game. Because, it was kind of going back to the roots of 49ers football for a lot of this game. And I guess being there live again made things better, per se. Being there live made things better, but also because the Niners couldn't be finishing drives for half of the time on offense, it just got, frustrating. It's like it drained a little bit of the energy out of me in this particular game. So when you're looking at this actual game for the 49ers against the Saints, it was all about the defense. And that came shape and form in the first quarter when Fred Warner punched the ball out of Alvin Kamara on the opening drive when he ran the ball. And then Samuel Ebcom recovered it, and that gave the Niners prime opportunity to strike, take an early lead in the first quarter. But then, the offense, they look to follow up on their big output of the season so far in Mexico City. But Jimmy G threw a bad pass in the end zone to George Kittle, and then they just had to set up for 3 points. And I was like, damn, it just reminded so much about that 49ers football that we were so accustomed to in that point of the season for the 49ers. And that pretty much remained such for most of the first quarter and the first half. Because, they pretty much allowed Chris Olave to light up the 49ers defense in the second quarter, along with some guy, some other receiver by the name of Rashid Asid, if I remember the name correctly. And he also let Andy Dalton scramble for a couple of yards from time to time. But there were times, though, where the defense continued to amp up the pressure on Andy Dalton, even though they couldn't sack him at any point. Jimmy G and the offense looked really out of sync, like as if their Mexican adventure really took a toll on them. And they were definitely coming off a short week, but still, this is a team that was pretty average, and yet they couldn't get anything rolling. Like they couldn't get Kyle Shanahan couldn't come up with anything aggressive plays, and it was either that or the execution was very bad this week. So we get into the second quarter, and even the special teams, Mitch Wistowski, the punter, who's usually very reliable, he botched a punt, and he's doing very bad. And some people were blaming Sam Womack for the penalty that it kept that got the Saints even further into the Niners' range. But I was there. I saw that Sam Womack was, he's kind of getting held back out of bounds by the Saints defenders that were keeping him out of there. So I'm not sure why the referees were flagging him for not getting back in bounds when clearly the Saints players were trying to keep him out of bounds. So it doesn't make any sense. And then speaking of the referees, they were awful in this game. They were pretty awful for most of this game. They were calling a bunch of ridiculous penalties for the stupidest things. They called back a touchdown for Elijah Mitchell because George Kittle was holding, even though the Saints defender he was holding on was actually the other way around, which was stupid. That was that was so dumb. And then it was so weird. Like this, like going backwards a bit, the Saints didn't take advantage of the good field position that the 49ers gave them, even though they didn't really happen. And the 49ers didn't do, they forced a punt, but the 49ers got too aggressive on 4th and goal in the next series because Jimmy G, for whatever reason, like botched the play. Like, was he trying to go for a QB keeper? Like, tried to run it into the end zone, and then it failed? Or was he trying to find somebody in the end zone? It's like, either way, another 3 points. Another touchdown. Botch right there. So many points were given up in this game because the offense was doing so bad in this game. And I don't know if it was Shanahan or Jimmy G, like, with the inconsistency, but they have to do better. They have to do better in this game. And yeah, we could go point the finger. We can definitely point the fingers at with Shanahan and Jimmy are who they are at this point. And yes, that's certainly the point. But damn, they are in a prime position to make a playoff spot and get a win. I'm not saying that they are a Super Bowl contender because with how that offense played today, I don't know. So they do get a touchdown, which also could have been an interception in the end zone. Jawan Jennings does make a juggle catch. So by the end of the first half, it's 10-0 in favor of the 49ers. And then you get to the second half where more 49ers football ensued. And it seemed like Jimmy G was going to make his first big mistake in a while with an errant interception to the Saints, but got bailed out by an illegal contact call on New Orleans that kept the offense on the field. And then he also got later hit below the knees by a defender. And I'm not sure if he was legitimately hurt. I think he said he was sore in his post-game presser, or maybe he was just like selling it like he was in the WWE or in AEW, because they did end up calling roughing the passer. He was like, oh, my leg. And that was in the same leg that he tore his ACL. I mean, if he was selling it, I mean, he did a good job of selling a penalty. But unfortunately, couldn't get anything out of it because they settled for 3. It's like, dude, get some points on the board so that you can run away with this game. And because the offense couldn't do anything, the defense eventually was starting to get a little tired. Even though they did a good job shutting down the Taysom Hill surprise plays, which was one of my keys to the game, you got to shut down Taysom Hill, which they did. They did a good job of that. And Alvin Kamara also didn't really do a good job of finding space. And the offensive line did. Even for as much as they well-protected Andy Dalton in this game, they didn't do a good job providing any running room from Alvin Kamara. But they did provide time to throw for Dalton to either Chris Olave, the rookie receiver, who did pretty good against Charvarius Ward and the Niners secondary, or that random guy I mentioned earlier, Rashid Shaheed. Like, how do they keep letting them open? Like, guys, you were getting burned out there like crisp toast. But then we remember that this is the Saints that they're playing. So the defense of the Niners and the Saints' offensive stupidity on 4th down, because they got a false start. And Will lost. Lost. He looked lost, missing a wide left field goal. Yeah, he missed the field of a potential opportunity to give the Saints points. Wide left in the third quarter, a field goal. Man, what are the odds of that? But then the Niners couldn't take advantage of the decent field position either. like Kyle Shanahan with these weird play calls, Jimmy G not fighting his open guys, the running game also not working, and then eventually he also had injuries to Elijah Mitchell, their backup running back, who also is a good runner, and Spencer Burford, who's also been playing pretty solid. They go down with injuries, and they're out with the game with Mitchell eventually revealed to have a sprained MCL, like freaking yikes. And Spencer Burford with an ankle injury. And then someone also mentioned that Christian McCaffrey like was walking around with a brace on his knee, or whatever, a strap. Like, oh no, oh boy, he was trying to like finish out the game. Like, oh boy, it's like for as solid as Jordan Mason played in the running game, it's like it's already a concern with Christian McCaffrey and his health. But the fourth quarter is where the defense really shined, with considering how the desperation kicked in for New Orleans and how the referees were like trying to help them score, I guess you could say, or maybe it was the undisciplinedness by the 49ers, if that's a word, because there was 2 stupid penalties by the 49ers defense that helped the New Orleans Saints keep their hopes alive of scoring in the end zone, when, in all honesty, it should have ended. It's because Nick Bosa roughed the passer, even though he just bumped into Taysom Hill like so slightly. And then they let Andy Dalton keep running around, making these big scramble plays. Like, guys, just get after him. Yeah, like protect the box. Like, is it that hard? And then once they reached the goal line, though, Talanoa Hufanga punched the ball out of Algamera, and then they recovered it, which was good. But then again, the offense can't get out of their own way. It's like you're pretty much undoing all the good things the defense is doing. But then the defense bails out the offense on the Saints' last possession. So when the Saints seem finally poised to break the barrier, finally put them in striking distance, because keep in mind, it was only 2 possession game. Like, if the Saints scored, it would only been a 1 possession game. So they were back in striking distance, right there and there, despite their inability to cover Chris Olave for much of the game. It was 4th down near the goal line with just like, I think it was like 5 or 6 minutes left in the game. It was very loud, by the way, at that point. And then after they took a timeout, Nick Bosa came through for the only sack of the game for the 49ers, and it was a critical one. I'll give him that. And the 49ers offense, well, Jimmy G worked on his handoff game for the rest of the game with Jordan Mason, who speared through the tired New Orleans Saints defense and got some first downs and got the shutout. So Niners took care of the Saints in a very ugly one, a very frustrating one, 13-0. And man, I gotta say, not exactly the greatest game to be at if you're a Niners fan. Like, yeah, it was. I guess you could say it was a solid Christmas gift. I'm very grateful, very thankful that my dad got to experience a Niners game. I think this was my dad's first, and then my second, and then my brother's been plenty. But still, it was just like seeing another masterclass of Niners football, and then seeing it live. It's just, man. I mean, it win is a win, but damn, really? Really coming off of a masterclass in Mexico City? Yeesh. So anyway, the offense got to do better next week against Miami, because, yeah, they played the Houston Texans, and the Texans suck, but the fact that the game was over by halftime, with Tua scoring, with Tua throwing it to Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Garrett Wilson, with pure ease, and obviously the Texans have no pass rush, and it'll be much harder for Tua to do that, despite not having his left tackle Teron Armstead and his main running back Raheem Mostert, by the way, which it'll be kind of like an interesting game for them, with how many ex-Niners will be there at that game next week. So, still, if the Niners want to win this game next week against Miami, who have an opportunity to upset Miami, and I don't know why the Niners are favored in that game at all, but the offense has to do better. The offense has to bounce back. They got to look how they looked in Mexico City. Jimmy G has to play the way he did back then compared to now. And I know it's week to week, but he's got to play better than he did this week. And, you give a little bit of credit to the New Orleans defense for trying to keep their team in the fight, but it wasn't enough. And the Niners defense, give them a lot of credit for stepping up big, pitching a shutout against, Andy Dalton and the offense aren't exactly great. But, hey, they kept them out of the end zone and prevented another shutout. This is a complete shutout this time, not just a second half shutout. This was a complete shutout of a team this time around. So, yeah, I mean, we know how things went against Kansas City, but, this time around, against a better team in next week and in 2 weeks against Tampa. So, this defense is coming along strong. And then the Niners are in sole place of the NFC West. First place. Because, everyone but them lost. Especially, good news for them, the Seahawks somehow lost this game against the Raiders. Yeah, coming off a bye week. Holy crap. So, good news for them. And if the Seahawks keep losing somehow, then it'll make things much easier for the 49ers, just as long as they take care of the business. And please, for the love of God, Jimmy G, can he just freaking look like how he did in Mexico City? Is that hard to ask? Is it hard for Kyle Shanahan and Jimmy G to look like how they did in Mexico City? Is it? I don't know. So, looking ahead a little bit to next week's matchup against the Miami Dolphins. Yeah, that's going to be a big one. Obviously, the next two games are big ones with the Dolphins and the Bucs, but obviously we have Miami first to take care of. So, Mike McDaniel is returning to the team that he's being mentored under, and he's got his new toy in Tua Tagovailoa, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson Jr., Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki. It's going to be a big matchup. I'm not sure how this is not the Sun. I don't want this to be a Sunday night matchup, so yeah, let's screw that. So, yeah, this is going to be a very big matchup for the 49ers, despite how things fared out against a more quality offense in the Chiefs last time, how that played out. But nonetheless, this is going to be a big matchup for San Francisco, because it's going to be a test to how their defense will do against another quality offense and that loves to sling the ball. I'm not sure what the status will be for Raheem Mostert or their left tackle Teron Armstead, so we'll see. So either way, this should be a fun matchup next week, and obviously we're going to be here to cover it, preview it going into that game. So the Niners beat the Saints 13-0. Not exactly the greatest game to be at live in person, but hey, it was still a good experience being there with the fans, I guess. So let me know your thoughts about this game for the 49ers down in the comments below. And yeah, was this another masterclass of 49ers football for you? Also, let me know in the comments. And what are your thoughts going into next week's game with the Dolphins? Let me know about your thoughts about that as well. So anyway, this is DylanLasagna signing out of Very Cold Lasagna, and keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And until next time, peace out.